People in here talking already. I
Yeah,
saw that you scheduled that. Nick is learning Broncos for Breakfast 2.0 the day after.
You can teach an old dog new tricks, but welcome in, guys. Welcome in. This is Monday morning, a Broncos victory Monday, which, of course, everybody should be enjoying themselves because of that. And if you guys are new to the show, I am Nick Kendell, joined by Scott Kennedy, and this is Broncos for Breakfast. We go live 45 minutes is what we're aiming for here, but we typically go an hour on Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays going forward. And here bright and early for you guys in your morning drive, or for the running joke right now, everybody listening to us in their shower, which, I'm not here to yuck your yums, but
all right, are we ready for some shower talk then?
Yeah, God.
So I shave in the shower. I just do. I shave in the shower.
Yeah.
My shaving cream can was just about empty, and it went kadoosh. That's how it finished up this morning. So I'm like, well, I'm glad I'm in the shower, because that's really rude, isn't it, to get suddenly sprayed like that?
That's probably performing like the Washington football team kicking unit, but we'll get into that. Obviously, guys, I am Nick Kendell, and this is Scott Kennedy. Make sure you guys are joining us tonight for Huddle Up, where we're going to be auctioning off that Patrick Surtain, the second jersey, who he looked pretty good there yesterday. So excited to see who wins that. And you guys have earned it. You guys were amazing with the stars and the super chats this month. So I wish I could give you all Patrick Surtain, the second jerseys, but there can only be one. So make sure you're still getting those in, though, to give yourself a better chance for tonight. And hopefully we'll get an announcement soon on what's going to be next month's giveaway. You guys can follow Scott and myself on Twitter, Scott at Scout Kennedy, and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. Also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you enjoy the swag going on, I don't have my mug. It's in the dishwasher. I got my thermos today.
So you need to season it. I can't handle that by just not washing it.
Yeah, it was starting to get a little bit too gross, considering I drank out of it. What is it, like 8 days in a row almost? But if you guys want your swag, like Scott's drinking his mug there, go to huddleuppod.com to get your swag on. I got the hat on right here. Christmas is coming up, so make sure you guys get yourself some stuff. Treat yourself. Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle or /Mile High Huddle Pod. And actually, join us there, and we can talk some more football on Facebook. And to our YouTube folks, subscribe, like, and share. And while you're over on YouTube after doing that at Mile High Huddle, do so also at Scott's channel, youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy, where maybe we push off the draft talk. Maybe another week now with the Broncos winning. This was a fork in the road game. Broncos lose this. I mean, we're talking about big trades. We're talking about the draft, etc. Now you're talking about a team that's 500, back in the swing of things.
Through the season, you're sitting at 500. That's within shouting distance, right?
You're right there. You're getting a bunch of offensive weapons back, and the defense, the formula, which you've spoken of all season, was what we saw play out on Sunday. And the Broncos ended up winning. It wasn't pretty, but a win is a win is a win. And they took care of business, and we're back I wouldn't say we're back in the saddle, but we're hanging on. So the Broncos got a chance. They had to win this game, and we have a chance to talk some meaningful football in November. So that's great. Scott, how are you doing? I don't want to jinx anything, but the common team that we're cheering for here, that's your team, I've been enjoying, and just wanted to let you know we're all rooting for you. Good luck.
Yeah, watched. It's disappointing not to close the World Series out at home when you got a 3-1 lead, but to be able to even get a 3-1 lead and take a game back 3-2 when you start two ham and eggers at pitchers in games 4 and 5. One's making his major league debut, and the other one hadn't started since June, and you get a split out of that. That's pretty good. It's crazy to me also that, with all of these bullpen arms, and you can't find someone to start a game in the World Series, and you make it that far. So I was trying to think about that. It's like, what's it was the day of the backup quarterback yesterday, and I'm like, is there even a comparison to saying, oh yeah, we're gonna have this guy make his major league debut in the World Series? I mean, that's not even the same. Trevor Siemian has played a lot, for the Saints when he got the win. It's just strange. I want to also want to say hello to some folks in the chat real quick, because we do have some stars coming in. So whatever the next giveaway raffle ends up being, there's going to be Peter's already getting in there. He's in there twice.
Yay, Peter.
Yvonne came in on YouTube last night. Big. So coming in on Facebook this morning. Appreciate that, Yvonne. It jumped yesterday, so I wanted to make sure that we gave you a special shout out this morning when we saw you again too. Yeah, DeAndre, welcome in. Good to see you. Dave Glassman in the house, of course. Mark from Savannah, I know who he's rooting for as well. Miguel Santi Stefan we've got lots of international here. We need to do a football podcast, talking some soccer with all our international friends and our American soccer fans. For the team, it was a last gasp. In fact, I think it was a double, because you kind of went, oh, okay, we intercepted it, to what the hell? So you needed a double last gasp on this one. And Clay saying you can get your own Sertan jersey whenever you want. You can. And that's why I always like to remind people that we appreciate the support.
Yeah.
It helps us do this. And try not to come away feeling like, hey, when you've got 200, I think there's 200 YouTube contributors alone, and I haven't even counted Facebook. I don't want 199 people feeling like they missed out every week. That's a bad feeling. So just remember, we're here because you're here. Yep. And we couldn't do this without you, and we certainly appreciate it. And I hope everybody understands that and doesn't just feel disappointed when 199 of you don't win a Patrick Surtain jersey.
Yeah, no, it's we want you guys to get it, but you get a chance again next month, so we'll see. Let's get into the game here, and appreciate everybody coming in to the chat this morning for a Victory Monday. The Broncos 4-4 after a good win against a solid Washington football team, despite what the record says. I'd say they're okay. They're garden variety bad.
What's that take them to 2-5, 2-6?
Yeah, okay. That maybe not solid.
You can't call that solid. They're a flawed team.
A solid defensive line.
They're flawed. They're not solid. They've got too many flaws to be solid. A 500 team is solid. Denver's okay. They're solid. Washington's a flawed team. They're a flawed team right now with some nice tools, some nice components, but they're a flawed team.
Yeah, I know. And we got Clee coming in saying support this. Thank you very much, Clee. We appreciate you. I want to get right into it with the special teams. I know that was it Blewett is the name of the kicker. God, he can't make this stuff up. We live in a simulation.
We need to do an SEO name, because I always thought the worst kicker name was from South Carolina was Ryan Suckup.
Yep.
So between Suckup and Blewett, goodness, I'm not feeling that one. Homer Bailey, the pitcher, Bob Walk, Suckup, and Blewett.
Yep.
Jesus.
Unbelievable. But Blewett, 3 of his first 5 kicks for Washington football team have been blocked. Probably some of that is on the blocking, some of that's on him. But
some of that's on him. The first one was definitely on him. It came in way low. Yeah. I rewatched that one again today. I won't say rewatch because I have to listen to it on the radio. So I'm listening to the audio calls during the games and watching it. That one came in way low.
Yeah, nope. But he blew it. But the Broncos got to be in position to make a play to take advantage of somebody else not executing. And shout out to our 2 starting interior defensive linemen, Shelby Harris and Draymond Jones, for being in a position to make the plays. And we have back-to-back games now where the Broncos special teams has made plays. So do we have to give a shout out to Tom McMahon? Also, I know that's like pulling teeth for some people around here, but the special teams unit has been making some big plays the last couple weeks, and I'm just looking for positives here, right? Like, I mean, we won, but for how much everybody wants coaches' heads on a spike and whatnot, let's be positive about the special teams here.
If you're gonna credit a coach for a blocked field goal when the kicker kicks it into the line, I think it was Shelby Harris that got his hand up.
Yeah, Draymond was more on Draymond.
And then you're gonna have to discredit him for missing a field goal. To me, those were both on the kickers.
Yeah. But the special teams,
I'm not gonna say, hey, great job for what I've seen there. Good job, you did your job.
Yeah.
Good job. But I'm not coming out of my way to say, oh yeah, the special teams have really turned around. They've been okay. They've been okay. There's been some big plays in special teams, but not necessarily big plays made. I mean, that sounds contradictory, but it's not like there's a big punt return with it, a tremendous individual effort, or some grand scheming where you pick out a gap and you go in. So the kicker kicked it into the line.
I do want to go back on one thing you just said. You said that the unit's playing okay, and they have not had a grand turnaround. If this unit is playing okay, there's been a grand turnaround compared to the beginning of the season, and last year is too. So I would say positive momentum on that front for the special teams, and it's something where the Broncos, as limited as they are on offense and for as injured as they have been this season, you cannot go into every single game and automatically lose the third phase. Those are those hidden yards, and the Broncos were losing those consistently. And at least the last couple weeks, I think they've been trending towards average, but we haven't had average special teams in a couple years. So, and the two big plays, I mean, that's possibly the difference in the game flow. I know we still won by 7, but you never know how the game changes from there if they make one of those kicks. So, butterfly effect in football, right? Let's get to the defensive side of the ball, because Denver Broncos vaunted defense. I know it was Taylor Heineke. I know that Terry McLaurin has been injured, but this was the Broncos defense that many of us had hoped we'd seen this season, where the Broncos, I mean, only surrendering 10 points, not giving up really that many back-breaking plays, getting after the quarterback for the first time this season against a solid Washington football team offensive line. Not amazing, but not terrible, and a mobile quarterback back there. I thought the defense overall, good job. I mean, really, what a turnaround for 1 week. I know getting the linebackers another weekend there, et cetera, helped. But I thought the defense had a pretty good game.
Considering it was a mash unit out there and you
Yeah.
start looking at the players, I mean, 6 linebackers on IR.
Yeah.
6 of them. So you're starting a guy you picked up off the street, not off the street. I'm kidding. Exaggerating. Kenny Young, you're starting him taking him from the Rams, plug and play right away, look good. Browning, for expectations, you set your expectations as he's a rookie. He did really well.
Yes, he did.
And I noticed in the first quarter, on one of the first down plays, he's in coverage, and it was kind of an out route to the running back, and the running back he took a bad angle, and the running back put it upfield. I was like, you know what that reminds me of? His teammate, not just this year, but last year, Jonathan Cooper, and I'm pretty sure it was against the Ravens, had edge protection on the right side and underestimated the speed of the running back at this level, took a bad angle, and the running back goes left side in for a touchdown and goes in there. And that's on rookies. That's experience. And it's nice to get that kind of experience in a win because he won't make that same mistake again. Those are rookie mistakes. Those happen. He took a bad angle because of the speed of the game. And the only way to learn the true speed of the game is to play. Yep. So Browning will be better because of that play, and played better as the game went on. So defense was great. There's not a whole lot to complain about there.
Yeah, and I want to get into a little bit more Baron Browning, because he caught my eye multiple times. When I typically do scouting, I kind of watch a game from a holistic view and just like, okay, who's making the pop plays, the athleticism, who's moving differently out there than what I am used to for whatever position they're in. And Browning offered more athleticism and explosiveness and twitch from the linebacker position for this Broncos team, sideline to sideline, than I've seen from this unit in years. I mean, we knew he tested like an absolute freak in the combine. We knew he had amazing size, but his athleticism really showed. And I think there's a disconnect from what athleticism does typically for a linebacker and a linebacker core versus what most fans want. You think you have a linebacker and he's going to be out there, we're going to hold the tight end to 0 catches. Like, that's not really a realistic ask from a linebacker position. What athleticism at the linebacker position can do for you is it limits, a running back play where they catch it and they get 2 yards instead of 10 yards, or a tight end screen, they get 4 yards instead of 20 yards. And Browning in pursuit, I mean, you'd have that one play where his angle was off, but I thought he did an exceptional job closing to the flats, limiting plays. And it was obvious to see Washington football team was targeting those linebackers in pass plays. And I thought Browning had a heck of a game, and he looked better in this first action. There was miscommunication, some issues where they're like talking right before the snap, trying to figure out who has what responsibility, etc. Not unexpected, but Browning really impressed me. I mean, he's going to make some mistakes the rest of the season. There's going to be some highs and some lows as he's working this linebacker position, but he looks like somebody who needs to get reps. I was very impressed, and he's going to really help that defense because they don't have anybody who fits his athletic category at that position. They just haven't, and they don't.
Well, appreciate you coming in here, Mo. And one of the other things I noticed was the size. I don't know if it's the numbers throwing me off, but when I see Sternard out there at 41, I saw him coming to make a play about 6 yards past the line of scrimmage. I was like, why is Justin Simmons? Because all I saw was the one. I was like, why is Justin Simmons that high? And I was like, I think Browning has at least 20 pounds, and I think closer to 30 on Sternard, without giving up any type of quickness and speed. So that's going to help. That's going to help in the run game. If he can still get laterally, but add another 30 pounds vertically, then that's going to help your team.
Yeah, and I think I saw Mike Kliss said that Browning played a vast majority of the snaps, followed by Kenny Young and then Justin Sternard. And Justin Sternard has been I know he's only a 5th-round pick and he's a second-year player, but you talk about guys flashing when you're watching the games versus not flashing. Strnad has not flashed at all, as in a positive way for me. So looks like he might be trending the wrong way, with Baron Browning trending the right way there. But again, I mean, he really stood out for me, and now everybody's looking like, oh, why wouldn't you burn a 1st-round pick on a linebacker? Blah blah blah. It's like, well, historically speaking, you can find really good linebackers day 2. I mean, the highest 2 paid linebackers in the NFL right now are day 2 picks in Fred Warner and Darius Leonard. I mean, we just have historical context backing us up on that one. And Brownie, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be that level of player, but he looks like somebody who I am. If I'm Peyton, I'm not stepping down there to tell them, play Drew Lock over Teddy Bridgewater or anything like that. But Browning needs to play. We saw enough of him in this game, and so little of Strnad. And also, Strnad wears 40. Kenny Young wears 41. Both those guys I thought were out of position and a little bit lacking. There was one play where Kenny Young just, absolutely no ability to turn his feet.
Because Kenny Young goes about 230, right? I think the numbers, these numbers on the size are throwing me off. I'm like, that guy looks thin. That's okay. That's not a bad thing. But I like a little width, a little size. The old 56 on Browning. I grew up with the Lawrence Taylors of the world. That was 56. 56 and 34. The 34 running back. You better be something special if you're going to wear 34. When you talk to a Gen Xer type with Walter Payton and Herschel Walker and Bo Jackson and all that group, 34 meant something.
Yeah.
So 56 means something to me as well. So
I agree.
That's my get off my lawn moment. I actually like the numbers. I think they look cool. I think it's cool seeing, the receivers in the single digits and, some of those guys. I like the number change. I think it's cool.
Yeah. And I'll let you comb through any stars or super chats here that we can pull up. But I want to highlight some more defensive players here. Somebody I have been extremely tough on, and rightfully so, but he had a good game. And if you have a good game, you deserve your chance in the spotlight to have some positivity. I thought that Malik Reed had a very good game. I thought he shined more consistently than Jonathan Cooper did out there. There was a couple plays where I thought Cooper struggled with edge contain that let the Washington football team get outside the tackle box. But I thought Malik Reed had a pretty good game. Maybe his sack and Draymond Jones' sack was somewhat coverage sack, but you got to have your coverage guys covering to let your pass rush get home, and vice versa. It's a synergy there. So Malik Reed deserves a shout out. And also, people have been piling on this guy, saying he's struggling this season. He has not been what you'd expect given what you're paying him. But Justin Simmons with those 2 big interceptions, I think both of them happening in the end zone. One of them was a Hail Mary, so maybe not the highest odds, but that other one, when they were driving the ball and he intercepted it down there, hats off to Justin Simmons. He had a very good game. He also had a few plays where he came downhill and made some big tackles pretty close to the line of scrimmage, where he kind of sloughed off a pick play or somebody running a route that was meant to obstruct his line, got right around him, made the tackle. So Justin Simmons had a heck of a game. I was very impressed.
Well, let's go through this again a little bit, because I mentioned the mash unit, but I didn't really get into that too much.
Yeah.
If we go through who was starting and who was out there, especially at the linebacker group.
Yeah.
Jonathan Cooper, rookie. Baron Browning was out there a lot, rookie. Not only a rookie, he hasn't been playing a lot because he's been hurting. Kenny Young, he's been on the team about 72 hours. So that is really impressive. And as Tim came in with some stars, appreciate you, Tim.
Thanks,
says
Tim.
The run defense looked way better, probably because Washington doesn't have a very good run game. Glad to get the win. Yeah, the win to win. And the scariest runner out there yesterday for Washington was a quarterback. Taylor Heineke is slippery. And you still did a really good job of limiting his ability to make big plays once the structure of the play broke down. Y'all have heard me say it before, and I stole this line from someone else, but the busted play is not a basis for an offense. It might come up where you get a play or 2 plays, big plays, but that's not going to sustain you if you can't generate offense in a more conventional way. And the Broncos held the Redskins from being able to do that, which held them to 10 points.
Yeah, no, he was very good. I thought this whole defense was pretty good. I mean, there was a couple penalties I thought that were misexecution issues, but overall, I mean, this is the formula you want to use, right? Your offense is going to be limited with Teddy Bridgewater and the offensive line the way they are and everything that's going on there. But you need your defense to keep you in games and be a top 5, top 10 unit. And they haven't been. I mean, the last 3-4 weeks before this, they've been literally a bottom 5 defense in the NFL, which is just unacceptable. They weren't even going up against juggernauts besides the Ravens, and they were just getting whipped. So this was a good defensive performance, and the guys that we needed to step up, I thought really did. And overall, great job. And they're going to have their work cut out for them next week, assuming that Dak is going to play when they head down to Dallas to play the Dallas Cowboys, which, Cooper Rush, whatever, who the heck they play, it doesn't matter. They have a humming offense and a really good play, and Kellen Moore's calling a heck of a team there. So let's get over to the offensive side of the ball. I know that's what a lot of people want to talk about. And before we get into is diatribe the right word here? Whatever the conversation is surrounding the quarterback position, I want to talk the running backs. I want to talk Melvin Gordon. Man, what a happy Halloween, everyone. Melvin Gordon came as Jekyll and Hyde. Melvin Gordon, great plays, 2 touchdowns, amazing. The fumble on the 3rd and 9. I mean, you can blame the coaches for not taking a knee there, but they were trying to force them to maybe get a first down or commit a penalty.
Well, they couldn't take a knee at that point.
It was on 3rd and 9. Were they in the end zone?
They had 2 timeouts left.
Yeah, but I mean, they take a knee to punt it rather than.
You can't take a knee when you don't want to punt the ball there. You don't want to have to get into a special teams play if you can avoid it. So let's back it up though. Yeah. It didn't get counted as a fumble because he was down, but Javonte Williams coughed it up on first down. Yep. Because I'm listening to it on radio, so I didn't see it. He was fairly clearly down, but on radio, like, he fumbled. And then they're like, then they say, well, let's see. I'm a little surprised they haven't swapped him out for Melvin Gordon here. They're letting him go out on 2nd down. Here comes the rollout pass. Wait a minute, he threw it. What happened there? So clock stops. So they do give it to Melvin Gordon. Let's give it to the veteran, and he coughs it up. I mean, what was going through the stadium at that point? The demons were scared out of Halloween somewhere, and all of a sudden it all came crashing down. That was I've got, if we want to hear Fangio's comments on that, I thought they were pretty fair.
Yeah.
I've got that video here. Why don't you comment on that, and I'll bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were calling for the Broncos to take a knee there and punt it away, but you don't have a very dominant
knees to punt
unless they were in not a good position in the field either. Like, let's say the Broncos are at the 50-yard line. They have one of the best punters in the game. You really, really, really love your coverage unit as well. And you just constantly pinning them in the 5. And you think, okay, they're going to have to move it. They're going to have to burn a timeout, and then they're going to have to move it 95 yards to score a touchdown with whatever the time was left. I can get it there. The Hawkeyes did that against Penn State. Worked out fine because they had an amazing
word
defense.
You can use to describe it.
Can you hear that okay?
Yeah.
Worst word you can use to describe it, you can use to describe it. We got a couple yards on the first run, and luckily we were down. The ball came out then. The offensive coaches all thought the boot play had a chance to work on the second one to get the first down, because they had all their 3 timeouts. If we didn't get a first, we were going to have to punt. And obviously it didn't. And you'd like for Teddy, if it's not clean, to run with it and keep the clock going. And then obviously the fumble on the 3rd down, so it was awful. It was a terrible, terrible series of downs for us.
Yeah.
I couldn't quite remember what he said there, but he started with we, and then he went to the 3rd person. Then he went to they when he was talking about mistakes. So it was the offensive coaches thought this would work.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to we, coach?
Yeah. Well, I mean, situational awareness is a big one there, and it's the double-edged sword because both of Melvin Gordon's touchdowns were phenomenal. I mean, him in the pass game this game, I thought he had some really, really good plays. But on 3rd and 9, and they still have 2 timeouts left, it makes sense to run, not knee it there. That's obvious. I think that's hindsight coming in. Why wouldn't you just knee it? Well, you think your running back is going to
set up a punt from inside your own territory? You've got to, maybe you get lucky and you break one through. You run the ball, but the thing is you run the ball 3 times.
Yep.
Make them. They did have 3 timeouts. Well, by the end of that, they'd only used 1. There's 30 seconds left, and you only made them burn 1 timeout. That's a cluster. I mean, that's
a failure.
That's a failure right there. So, you don't take a knee to punt the ball inside your own territory. That's poor. I've said it 4 times now. I hope I'm clear on that. But to do that, protect the ball for sure. go up the middle. I don't know that I want to run to the right where I've got guys giving me, an open shot with that, the big LT chop, trying to knock the ball away. Put two hands on the ball, fullback dive right up the middle, and see if you can get 3 yards at a time. Make them burn their timeouts.
Yeah, no, they are. That was a misexecution, and that team was really seemingly trying to lose the game there with that. And while we are piling on Shermer and talking about the offense, I will say I thought that this was another game, and I'm not sure if I talked about this with you or if it was with Luke or Carl, but in hindsight, that Browns game, they were very much playing conservative ball to protect the offensive line and protect the quarterback because they knew that Browns defensive line could win the game. And Browns offensive line won the game, but that's beside the point. They were handcuffed in what they were going to call because they were going to make sure not to be super aggressive to give that Browns pass rush unit, which is much better than the Broncos offensive line, a chance to win. I thought that was a similar game plan this week because Washington football team obviously was pretty good. And I thought overall the game plan, while it was super conservative, did a good job to neutralize those pass rushers for the most part. I mean, the only sack I can remember on Teddy Bridgewater there was two I can remember on Teddy Bridgewater. One of them, he straight up fell. And the other one was off of a long extended play. And the guy came around beat the right tackle or that side of the line. So overall, I thought Shermer that was bad. I wanted to say, though, the Shermer usage of pre-snap motion in this game, it's something that people have been calling for. Oh, why doesn't he use that? I counted it on almost at least half the plays where they were using pre-snap motion to get the defense at least kind of showing what they're going to use. And I thought that helped Teddy Bridgewater a lot in the pre-snap phase of the game to identify where he's going to go with the ball. So shout out to that. I mean, using 21st century concepts here to use help your quarterback and get guys open. And Lawrence coming in with stars. The best play yesterday was Peyton Manning's pass to Stokely. I mean, you're not gonna hear me complain about that because I am a hardcore Peyton Manning greatest of all time truther. I don't even give a hoot about Tom Brady playing on top 5 defenses every year of his life or whatever.
He was on the radio call yesterday talking about how to get things going, get things turned around. I thought it was interesting that he was referring to the Denver Broncos the entire time as we.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
That if I was a Colts person, that had chied on me just a little bit. So I was, but there wasn't any hiding back. He's been there 10 years, stays in Denver.
Yeah.
It was we do this, we do that, we do this, we do that. Yeah. So I thought that was just an interesting little side note.
Yep. And I want to get to this real quick from Psycho saying, wow, he used motion like any good offensive mind. If you want to be, pissed off after a loss and whatnot and just be mad about everything, that's your call. I'm going to try to look at a little bit of positives here coming off the win and saying, okay,
no, I wouldn't take it that way. I feel the same way because like you said, I said the same thing that Psychosis just did. Maybe it's because I've got a little of that myself. But, you're like, oh, he helped his quarterback out. I'm like, it helps every quarterback out. Of course. Yeah. It's obvious. Please do it. Thank you. But,
but not everyone does. It's like play action.
They did. Too. Let's not ask them to do something and then punish them for doing it.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. Good job.
Something we've been calling for. And I will say I'm happy to keep talking about the offense here. Jerry Jeudy, welcome back. Obviously, I don't know. I focused on Jerry Jeudy when I could in the offense.
Here, real quick, let's grab Nicole.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah,
appreciate you coming in, Nicole. She comes in and says, I've been seeing some articles about trading Von Miller before the deadline. Yep. Possibility or just rumors to get fans riled up?
I think it was possible if the Broncos lost this game against Washington football team, but he is probably not going to go anywhere now. I think this team has a chance. I mean, they're at 4-4, and didn't the one of the teams in the AFC West lost again? I can't remember. I think maybe the Chargers won. I don't know. But the Broncos are right there in the thick of things in the AFC at 4-4. And I wish the trade deadline was maybe pushed back another 2 weeks.
Ahead of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Ahead of the Kansas City Chiefs.
I know the Raiders had half a game behind the Chargers, who are 4-3.
Yep.
Everybody's got problems. That's the one thing that we tend to not realize. Everybody has problems. Mm-hmm. This is. They all go through their ups and downs. We focus on our own because that's what we do as fans. But everybody has problems. And Nicole, we hit on this one a couple of weeks ago. My point on trading Von Miller was you have to get buy-in from Von to do this. George Payton, as a new general manager, doesn't want to be the guy to come in and trade legend Von Miller. Yeah. Unless they ask for it. If Vaughn has buy-in, then it's okay. Yeah. Very similar situation. Everybody grab your coffee. New general manager Terry Fontenot came into the Atlanta Falcons and traded maybe the greatest Falcon of all time, Julio Jones. Well, it came out in the middle of that, and even after the fact, that Julio Jones was asking for a trade the whole time. Terry Fontenot comes out looking, like the good guy there, which is the thing. But if you're going to trade Vaughn, you're going to need buy-in on this one for sure.
Yeah, and I think if you lose this, if you would have lost this last game against Washington football team, which man, they really tried to do a couple times there, then maybe you have a different conversation there, and you need to think more overarching with this team. I mean, eat locker room be damned, in my opinion, honestly, because you're going to have so much turnover this offseason anyways. You need to maybe start getting some experience from some younger guys and getting some capital here now. I really don't like the talk about, buying or players, buying in next season. You lose a third of your roster every single season. So it's a ramp up every year. So I don't think you have the issues from the locker room year to year. Winning fixes that culture, etc. But Jerry Jeudy, I was focusing on Jerry Jeudy this game. Welcome back. Jerry Jeudy made some awesome plays. He's not 100%. It's pretty easy to see watching him out there. The cuts and whatnot, not as dynamic in creating space there, but still Jerry Jeudy at 80% or whatever, as long as his knee doesn't have a chance to get worse from playing, he adds a much needed element to this offense, because nobody brings the quick middle of the field ability that Jeudy has on this roster right now.
Well, another part of that is the mental part. The trust in the knee has to come with it. He can be physically okay, but he'll get better mentally as he learns to trust his knee moving forward, and that comes with playing time. We said it again, kind of like a rookie. So he'll only get better from here, which is a good thing.
Yep. Keeping on the offense, Tim Patrick, good game. Good to see Albert Okwuegbunam back as well. I mean, I think this Broncos team, they need to live in. Teams are already stacking the box, regardless of if you're an 11 personnel or 12 personnel, because they don't think Teddy can drive the football, and they know this team wants to run the ball as well. And the Broncos also don't have a seam buster right now as far as true speed from the wide receiver position. So teams are stacking the box. If teams are going to stack the box anyway, maybe you need to lean into this 12 personnel now that you have 3 functional, somewhat healthy tight ends. I know Noah Fant's been a disappointment, but I thought that was the Broncos' overall most effective look out there this last week, living in 12 personnel. I don't have the data to back that up in like yards per attempt, efficiency, whatnot, but I thought the Okwuegbunam getting some looks out there, especially the quick dump off games where he can just be a big athlete in space. Noah Fant learned something there.
We've been missing that a little bit on the field, haven't we?
Yes, no, 100%. And it's easy yards and easy completions and doing stuff like that. Why aren't we getting these 3rd and shorts? Well, you're not getting those yards where, you're getting tackled for a 2-yard gain versus, 7. And that completely changes what you can do on offense. So I thought that they did pretty well getting Okwuegbunam back in. And I want to see more 12 personnel going forward. And I want to pass from 12 personnel. It's not the run. If they're going to load the box and you're going to dictate guys in the box, but based on personnel, you need to be able to pass out of that. And I thought they did okay. I'm
half afraid to talk positively about anyone right now. Last week it was Bryce Callahan. I mean,
yeah.
Whoever's got the voodoo doll, stop. Enough. Quit sticking pins in this thing. The way these guys are going down. Now, there was a question earlier, and I don't remember who it was. I apologize. Saying that surely Okwuegbunam is pushing Fant closer to the bench. But what makes me think is to your point, going back to the 12 personnel, I think it just creates more of a 5-man rotation. That way you can go your 3 wide receivers. You got 3 really good ones with Jeudy, Sutton, and Patrick. And now when I want to go 12, I can pull one of those guys off, get them a breather, and I can go Okwuegbunam and Noah Fant. And I can have that rotation throughout the entire game, where that's been missing. 2 of those pieces have been missing. I mean, that's a significant upgrade in talent, injection of talent. Now, what concerns me still is the offensive line. The offensive line concerns me. I don't want to feel like I'm just piling on, but Dalton Reisner is really playing poorly. Even on some of the big plays I'm watching, I'm like, okay, I want to try and be fair. I saw in a negative play, he got beat. Okay, well, what about on a positive play? And, one of the positive plays are nice long throw or something. He got knocked to the ground. He just happened to go in. I'm like, oh man, these are 2 of the least mobile guards I've ever seen on a unit. They do not move laterally at all. There's no pulling involved. They don't get to the
No.
second level. The offensive line needs some help.
Yeah, and I thought there was a few plays where I thought Reisner had some good movement at climbing, and I think the first run of the game the Broncos had was absolutely beautiful. I didn't look at the coach's film yet, but it looked like an absolutely beautiful inside zone look where they climbed and there was a couple of combo blocks, and I think Melvin Gordon got 9 yards. It was a 2nd and 8, or it was a 2nd and 9, and they got 8 yards on it. And it was that was on the offensive line, beautifully executed. After that, didn't really see that from the game, and Dalton Risner, you talk about the movement skills he's been struggling with as well. His grip strength also. I mean, there was a couple times where he actually did reach the block, and a guy just sloughed off him like nothing. So that was frustrating to see. He's been struggling. I don't know what's going on there. And I said it last week again. I'm not doing enough shows now. I don't remember which one exactly it was.
Well, hey, Nick, the phrase I always use is, they say always tell the truth, and you don't have to remember what you said. I repeat myself all the time because I say the same things to the same people. I don't remember who I've said what to. Yeah. So it only gets worse, dude. I got 20 years on you.
Yeah. Oh God. The truth is, if I'm looking right now to move Reisner, I think that you got 2 years of control. He's still young. Maybe you could get some return and create an opening for Moody, who's also really struggled in the passing game, but Miners, who I thought has actually looked better than Reisner in limited action, who's going to be a future on this offensive line regardless. So yeah, Reisner, his grip strength has been disappointing, and it's the movement skills too. So it's really sinking that offensive line. And again, talking about repeating ourselves, said this season, we know Teddy Bridgewater is going to probably finish the year in the 22nd to 12th range in terms of quarterback ranking.
Yeah, call it the teens.
Play. Yeah, the teens. That's
where he's trending. I mean, from the rating standpoint, it was another positive day yesterday. He was like 102, 103.
Did have a couple of plays that he got lucky on, but yes.
But that happens to every quarterback every game.
That's true. Yep, that's true.
You remember them. That's your own bias creeping in. Yep. Like, well, if that guy would have caught it, it would have gone down. Well, if this guy would have caught the other pass, it would have gone up. That happens. It happens every quarterback every week.
But you still need to account for it as part of the process. Where are they making mistakes? How clean was the actual game versus what the stats are? Easier to say, especially the day after it happened, remembering that kind of stuff. But I guess the point I was getting at too is that we knew Teddy Bridgewater was going to be this quarterback in that kind of range. If the Broncos were going to be a good offense this year, it came down to how good that offensive line could be then. And we needed them probably to be a top 10 unit, right? Like that's about what they've been. And right now they're closer to 20th, maybe even, the 22nd to 18th range compared to being a top 10 unit. And knowing what you know about the limitations with Teddy Bridgewater, losing both your guys who separate your separation wide receivers, all three actually, in Tayshaun Hamilton early on in July or something, or August, KJ Hamler and Jerry Jeudy, who's not 100% right now. It's really hurt this unit. So offensive line's got to be better. And that's definitely a direction if I was George Payton, I know the quarterback's the most important thing long-term, no doubt about it. But this offensive line has got to be better as well. And maybe they need to change the way they're evaluating or looking at bringing guys in, because it's not been good enough.
It seems like it would be easier to fix, especially when you got money, to fix the offensive line as opposed to finding the right quarterback. You've tried draft. You haven't really tried free agency in a while.
Yeah.
You brought in on Teddy, but you got Teddy for a song. I mean, like a 7th round pick and $2 million. That wasn't, hey, we want this guy. What the Carolina Panthers did was go and get Darnold and invest. They threw a second and picked up a big option.
Yep.
I'd rather be in the Broncos situation right now, honestly.
Yeah. If you don't have the guy, you'd rather not be invested in not the guy.
Yeah. You don't have anything invested in Teddy. He's gone after this year, and it didn't cost you anything to get him. So it was a pretty low risk move. DWI guys coming in. So with Henry potentially out for the year, how about Gordon to the Titans? Nick, doesn't this kind of depend on where you think your team is right now?
If the Broncos would have lost this game against the Washington football team, hell yes. 3-5, sell everything. I wish the trade deadline was moved back 2 weeks. I mean, they extended the season 1 week. Let's push the trade deadline back so actually we have a better idea of where these teams are at, right? But I digress. If the Titans come and offer like something like a 3rd round pick, which is ridiculous, it's not going to happen, or something like a 4th and a future 5th, I'd
But you
listen.
got to overpay if you want to get somebody that
Yep.
someone doesn't want to give up. So it's like, yeah,
Yep.
listen, we don't want to sell. We'll give you a 3.
Yep.
Sold.
Yep. I agree with you there. And if they want to overpay, that's fine. But right now, the strength of this offense right now is the fact that you have 2 running backs who look pretty dynamic out there and are actually creating yards beyond the offensive line's blocking, which is pretty rare. It's the opposite of what you want. It's the opposite of the Mike Shanahan model there, right? The offensive line creates the running backs. And that's not what you're getting in Denver right now. It's not a very sustainable model. But this team is 4-4. And if they have a chance to make the playoffs this year, it's probably going to come on the dynamic duo of Gordon and Javonte Williams, as long as they're holding onto the damn ball. So if the Titans want to overpay, okay, that's fine. I'm willing to see what Mike Boone can do this year as the second role and get Javonte Williams and just really lean into that. Because also that capital.
Because let's say you got 20 carries between them and you're getting 10 and 10, and all of a sudden you go to 17 to Javonte Williams and 3 to Mike Boone when you lose Melvin Gordon. Are you really losing anything at that point? Or, I mean, the only thing that scares me and you can't play like this is the freaking injury bug. Good Lord.
Yep.
But you can't play. It's like, well, we better not do that because, the way these guys are dropping like flies, we're going to need everybody we get because it's only a matter of time before this one goes down. You can't think like that, but it's starting to feel like that with the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So, I mean, if they want to make that move, I'd be interested in it, but it'd have to be a pretty good package from the Titans for me to be interested in that. And also Melvin Gordon, the way he's been playing, other than the fumble, is one that just nothing pisses me off more, Scott, than execution like that. Like, to have a little bit of awareness. I don't want to say pride, but like the situation. If I lose 10 yards here on a run, who cares?
Yeah,
I cannot fumble the ball.
There's sometimes where, you'll see a guy he does everything right and he still fumbles. But correct me if I'm wrong, but he had one arm a little loosey-goosey on that, and it got punched out. That can't happen.
I mean, God, that's one where, you and I both appreciate Teddy Bridgewater's leadership style and what he brings from that side of the field. But like, that's one where like the quarterback like grabs Melvin Gordon in the head before the snap. Like, if you do anything this play, just don't fumble the God blessed ball. Like, that's the one thing you can't do.
That doesn't have to be said. It really doesn't, dude. These guys
it shouldn't be. You're a
third
professional.
or fourth year professionals. I'm pretty sure he knows to hold on to the ball. It's just an instinct play. It was just poor. But speaking of making some plays, Christian Hernandez coming in with some stars, saying the special teams made some plays. The defensive two shouldn't have been a struggle yesterday, though. First win I haven't been excited after. There's fans that'll tell you that if you root for your team to lose, that you're not a real fan. They haven't been fans of really bad teams who really needed a coaching change. Yeah. And there's certain times where you see, I'm not sure this team might be better off losing a couple games if we can get a fresh start. And I think that's the feeling you've got right now. You're like, good Lord, I don't want to keep eking by at 500 and these guys save their jobs. And then we have to go through another piss poor year next year. I've said before, these are jobs. These are professionals. I trust coaches and athletes to put forth everything that they've got at the time, but we're going to outlast them. Yep. We're fans for life. This is a job for them. Vic Fangio will be gone and he'll have a 4-year blip on his Denver Broncos resume. You're going to have 75 years of being a Denver Broncos fan. So yeah, it matters what you think and how you feel. And if you write off a coach for doing poorly, you're still okay in my book.
Yeah. No. Coaches hired to be fired. That's just kind of the name of the game for a lot of these things. So thank you very much, Chris. If you don't feel good about the game, that's fine. It was not a beautiful game at all means. Again, everyone did drink your coffee. But I've seen a lot of games like this where you win ugly, being an Iowa Hawkeye fan, and it's really ugly on the offensive side of the ball. But you do enough to special teams defense to win a game and control it with the script. And that's what we said preseason. That would be the formula for this team to win a lot of games because they're not going to be a high-flying offense, most likely. But the defense should be good enough. You just want the special teams to not be terrible. And they got to win with that one. So let's see if they can be better, healthier. Maybe Vaughn will be back this upcoming week and get after the Cowboys. Cowboys should be big favorites. But if the defense plays like they did again today, you never know, right? Like the defense can keep you in games, and defense and run games should travel in theory. Fox breaks comes in here with $5.
That's a new name for me. Fox
Yeah.
Breaks. Welcome. Getting off happy November 1st. Kicking off the new month. Right at the top of the YouTube charts. Appreciate you.
No Shave November, right, Scott?
Yeah, it doesn't work for me.
I
That
might
doesn't
try.
work for me. If I didn't shave for a week, you might not notice.
Something's wrong with Scott's light. No, that's just my week-long challenge.
I don't do that. And then it turns into rainbow colors. So I've got red. I feel like proud that I've started getting some gray in my chin. You feel
There
like,
you
yes,
go.
I've made it. I feel like I'm growing up. You know, I'm almost
finally
50
did
years
it.
old, for God's sakes. But, you know, you start getting some grays. You're like, I'm kind of proud of myself. I've made it this far. So it's not all bad when you start seeing a few grays here and there.
God bless you. I think the one thing about people, I don't know if there's a trend here, and I'm an epidemiologist, so I should probably know these things, but the guys who get the big facial hair early are much more likely to lose it up here. And I'm happy to be blessed with a full head of hair, and Scott looks like he's rocking it too. So speaking of shower talk this morning, we're getting into all this stuff. Fox Breaks, $5. It feels like injuries have been an issue the whole time Fangio has been our head coach. Is this true or recency bias? I would need to look at the data in front of me. I know for sure the last 2 seasons, the Broncos have had a higher than average amount of injuries. Is that bad luck? Is that strength and conditioning? Is that Fangio looking to use more old school practice methods where there is more padded days, there's more hits in those things, and those start to accumulate? All questions we should ask. It's probably a little bit of everything. Maybe not as much the strength and conditioning because it's not a lot of hamstring issues or like those kind of muscle kind of issues where you can point directly to strength and conditioning when you see that stuff. But this is why depth's important, right? Like this is why you build a roster for 53 overall. And it's another reason why when you go into the draft, you shouldn't be pinholed to, okay, we have one hole at right tackle. We have to take a right tackle. 1 week into the season, you might have lost your linebacker, edge rusher, cornerback. Like you need to have a good roster and be comfortable with the guys behind you. So I think that's the biggest lesson here. You need to build a holistic, good roster top to bottom. You're going to have some holes, but you need to just get good players.
And Fox, I won't say the whole time he's been here because I haven't been following the Broncos long enough to answer that. Well, I will say this year seems to be worse than normal compared to other teams.
Yeah.
I don't remember, again, just 6 linebackers alone, and a friend of mine, former NFL player, he said he was saying we had a new guy come in as strength and conditioning coach, and by week 6, everybody had spent some time out with a muscle injury, hamstring injury. By the way, they changed the way of doing things, but that's not the case here. We're talking ACLs, torn pectorals, rolled up ankles, concussions, that type of stuff. If it was one type of injury like that, you might be able to say, but this is free, and it happened early. You see guys starting to sit out a little bit when the season's gone. The OGs start going, you're distracting me here.
Sorry.
The OGs start sitting out a little bit, taking a mental break, maybe not playing as much down the stretch when the season's gone, but all these are happening early. It's just, when it keeps happening over and over again, you start thinking there's more to it than just luck, but they're so random. It is. And it's a rough damn game. My son's 12. He's a big, fast kid. I love football. And he's starting to get that itch. And I like wanting to, me as much football I want to see him turn him. I want to turn him loose on a couple kids. And then you start watching this and players drop like freaking flies. You're like, I don't want him out there. He's too good a baseball player. I don't want him getting hurt and having to miss 6 months of stuff because of baseball.
Yeah.
So it's on top of everything, it's a rough damn game. Captain Obvious, I know, but it is.
Yeah, no, totally. You're absolutely correct there. And before we get on out of here, I know we're trying to do 45 minutes here since we are doing 3 nights a week. But I do want to talk quarterback, unless there's anything else that you want to talk about from this game besides quarterback. I'm looking at the stats here. Broncos win the turnover battle, guys. You hear me say this, and I know it's stupid, but besides points, if there's anything that indicates if your team is going to win or lose, it's who wins the turnover battle. And the Broncos 2-1 there. One of them was essentially a punt. So maybe you want to call it 1-1, but I'll call 2-1 to be positive here. Broncos won there. They also won the yardage in penalties. So overall, 2 teams that are probably not going to make the playoffs, probably garden variety bad teams. Maybe Washington picks top 10. Maybe Denver's picking in that like 12 to 18 range in the upcoming draft. But the Broncos won. And they won in some key metrics like that. So I wanted to get to that. But quarterback. Is there anything else you want to talk about besides quarterback?
Let me hit on Washington real quick. Let's put
let's
a nail in that coffin. While we started off at the top of the show, and I kind of flinched when you said solid team, because they're now 2-6.
2-6 on the year.
I call them a flawed team.
Yeah.
Because if you look at their losses, 4 points to the Chargers. They got beat pretty handily by the Bills. They got beat by the Saints 33-22. They lost to the Chiefs. They were in it against the Packers, and they lost by 7-2. So it's a flawed team, but they're not a bad team. They're not nearly as bad as the record the record shows. They know how to win games right now because of their flaws, even less than the Broncos, because the Broncos sure as hell try to give it to them.
Yeah.
So, let's try and take some positives of this moving forward. Okuwebanam's back. Jerry Judy's back. I want to see Ojemudia back.
You might now because Bryce Callahan.
It's not as bad as they were saying on the radio last night with Bryce Callahan, and he's back. And then we look at the growing up process of Baron Browning, Jonathan Cooper, some of these young guys starting to show out and contribute.
Yep. And I guess we should touch on injuries real quick. Bryce Callahan had a hyperextended knee. I'm not sure if he's going to get a scan today to see the issue. I think the quote was it wasn't a bad knee injury, which means it's not one they expect him to be out for the year. But I would expect Bryce to miss some time, and that's every single year of his career he's been injured. So this might be the last year of him in Denver, given his age and the fact that he plays nickel cornerback and whatnot. Unless you can get him for a song and a dance, as they like to say. But he's probably going to be out for a bit. You're going to see some rotation here at the cornerback position. Asang Bassi should be back here pretty soon. That's somebody the Broncos liked a decent bit in last draft cycle out of Wake Forest, undrafted free agent, but he looked okay last year. And Michael Ojemudia should be back too. So that should help you with that. I think Garrett Bowles was rolled up on, and he had a slight ankle injury. I would be shocked if he didn't play against the Cowboys. And you're probably going to need him. Randy Gregory has been awesome for them this year. They still have Dexter Lawrence, who is just a wingspan monster at the edge rush spot. But I think Garrett Bowles should be good to go. If not, you'll see Calvin Anderson. So last 9 minutes here, quarterback play. Teddy Bridgewater. I'm going to give you the floor here because I have some thoughts, but I don't want to dive right into it first.
He's been fair.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought he was fair. Made some plays, missed some plays. That's the best I could say. Probably the worst I could say. He wasn't necessarily bad. He had some bad moments. Yep. He had some good moments, but he's okay. He's, again, going back to the beginning. This was the Teddy Bridgewater that we expected for the season. He's keeping your team in the game, not making many dynamic plays, didn't turn the ball over, could have, but he's fair. So you won this game with good defense, should have run the ball better, and not turning the ball over. That was the formula going in. So if the defense can keep playing that, and now I want to see this team with all of the weapons coming back. Knock on freaking wood, because every time we say that, someone else comes out of it. So I want to see Okuwebanam. I want to see Jerry Jeudy, and I want to see them all on the field together and what they can do. Now, the detractors will still point out and say, well, you still have Pat Shurmur calling plays. I get that. But I think there is reason to think that this is the low point of the offense for this season.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Teddy Bridgewater, fair is a good word for it. When you brought him in, once Aaron Rodgers seems like it always was a pipe dream in hindsight. But once you passed on a quarterback at 9, you kind of knew, unless Drew Lock took major steps forward and outright beat Teddy Bridgewater, which, we'll leave that discussion and the conspiracies for another time. Then you were going to be limited and capped at the quarterback position and offensively because of that. I think Teddy right now is playing dinged up. I thought his pocket movement and everything looked a little bit limited out there in this game.
And for that point on the second to last offensive play where you're hoping he'd run the ball, I think if he feels fully healthy, he tucks the ball and dives instead of tries to loop one over to, I don't remember which receiver it was, out in the flat out there for an incomplete pass. To me, that's timid. That's playing a little more timid, and you can't play the game like that. So in that situation, he needs to put the ball down and at worst slide, but probably dive forward. But, when you've had your bell rung like that and you're barely walking after games, that becomes let me see if I can dink this in over that. So I think that is part of it too.
Yeah, and I know that this is not very popular in the NFL game, but maybe this is the high school and some college growing up here watching these games. But man, I still believe in if you want to run the football, having a quarterback that's the Taysom Hill of the NFL and that obvious situation where like we're going to run it anyway. So might as well give yourself a quarterback who you're not going to put your passer in harm's way, and then also have a better run threat in there. I don't know why teams don't do that more often. I guess it's the limited roster size, but having that power option quarterback that you can go to, so it's something I would do, especially in the red zone. But beside the point, I thought Teddy Bridgewater was fine. He is what he is. I'm hoping that he's going to be healthier and better. And you touched on the run game. They did still run for 4 yards a carry, which is that's not great, but like if they get 4 yards a carry, that's the minimum. And if they get that, okay, they're
giving up 4-7 though.
Yeah, that
so they ran the ball more effectively against you than you did against them. So for me, that's a loss.
Yeah. I agree with you there. I do think that'll get better with the linebackers getting a little bit more communication. That was obviously an issue in this game that the Washington football team identified as a potential weakness. You saw it with how much usage they had with the over the middle field passing, the swing passes, and the running game in general. And it was decently effective. The Broncos, it didn't break the Broncos' backs with doing that, but still it kept them in the game, and they had some good drives. So overall, I think it was a fine game. I'm expecting the Broncos to hopefully have a good bout with the Cowboys this upcoming week, but we'll see. This is a very good Cowboys team. Dak Prescott is playing as good, arguably as good as almost any quarterback in the NFL right now, and Broncos are going to have a good game, and they're going to have to not only play well, but they're going to have to execute. There can't be these penalties, there can't be the turnovers, et cetera, et cetera. They cannot go out there and do self-imposed mistakes and come out with a win in Dallas against how good that team is.
And they're not a good defensive unit right now.
No.
They're scoring a lot of points. So on this point, it could be strength on perceived strength.
Yep.
A lot of and they're handcuffed with a second team quarterback that you can now plan against, instead of having a wild card come in there. But they move the ball well. Broncos should be able to stop the ball well and hopefully getting better. And they give up a lot of yards. The Broncos have trouble moving the ball. I call this the movable object meets the resistible force. Something's got to give. So it could be one of those where we see. I typically like the better defense against a bad offense. I like the bad defense against the bad offense. Bad offense is usually bad offense. So we'll get into the Cowboys a little bit more for sure.
Yeah, it will be fun to talk a little bit of Micah Parsons as well, right? Especially with how much the Broncos are going to try to use the tight ends, middle of the field passing, and running backs in the pass game. This might be a target Micah Parsons to see if he is a little bit overzealous with his stuff with those pre-snap motions and misdirection, because he does have a tendency to be moving the wrong way from time to time. He's athletic enough where
put Noah Fant on him head up. I'll tell you that much right now.
You know what? Let's do it.
Hawks beat Penn State this year. Maybe chip him, but let's not put him out there isolated.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I think it's partially is the limitations of the offensive line and what Teddy's doing. The reason you're seeing those kind of things going on, and that's why you're seeing the short passes with the hopefully a chance for yak opportunities for those guys.
I'm okay with that, but yes. Noah Fant doesn't need to be one-on-one against the other team's best pass rusher.
Yeah,
doesn't need to happen.
Yeah, and if that is happening, it needs to be probably a design play where it's a pop and release. Yep, exactly.
Other direction.
Got space. Yep, 100%.
If he's lined up right and he's lined up against Micah Parsons, then run the other way.
Yep,
because then it's okay.
Yep. Well, guys, awesome to see the Broncos get a victory. The Broncos only beating bad teams, but you can only beat the teams in front of you. And the Broncos are now riding a 1-game win streak, right? People said they'd never win another game the rest of the season. Here we are.
And the other part of it, Nick, there's a lot of bad teams in the NFL. That's why the Broncos are 500. Yep. And 500 puts you on the edge of the playoffs all the way till the last game. So play 500, sneak out a win against a team you probably should have lost to. And you're sitting there, how many games? 17 at 9-8? 9-8 might get you a playoff spot.
Yep. No, I totally agree with you here. And the AFC West looks like you could get a win there. I mean, right now the Raiders, they embarrassed you in that game. Maybe they had an emotional high with whatever is going on there. Maybe we'll throw that game out. We'll see. But we should find out a little bit more about this team as every single game goes on. And hopefully it'll start getting better. And hopefully the Broncos can get back up to above 500 against the Cowboys next week. But right now, they got to win at home even though they didn't execute as good as they could. And, we'll take it. That's can't control the outcome, so we'll take it. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. You can find Scott and myself on Twitter, Scott at Scout Kennedy, and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. You can also follow us on Twitter at Huddle Up Pod, as well as at Mile High Huddle. Guys, go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod to join the conversation. Continue it there. Ride the highs, ride the lows of the season. It's always good to social media, right? Catching everybody's highest emotional response at the moment it happens at the same time. It's always a lot of fun. Subscribe, like, and share if you're joining us also on YouTube today, and make sure you're doing that at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. Scott, what's the plan the rest of the day? What's going on? Gonna get some more.
Just getting some work done. World Series is off. We'll see if there's any midday soccer, and then I'll catch up on some games and stuff, and probably take a breath. And I'm glad we held the Teddy Lock stuff until the last few minutes, because I've seen enough of this conversation 7 days a week in some of the other pods when I'm watching the entire thing. Some of y'all need to change the tune. I get it. I understand. Yeah. Teddy's not the answer. The one thing that I don't like, though, is revisionist history on Drew Lock. Drew Lock has not been good. Drew Lock was not good in that 3-1 stretch. He had a below 90 quarterback rating. It was a lot more than Drew Lock. I'm not saying he can't be better, but don't make him into something that he wasn't before. He hasn't shown anything to this point. Can he? Maybe. I'll give you that. Maybe. Should he be playing now on a team that isn't going anywhere? Maybe. I'll give you that one too. But let's not do revisionist history. He hasn't been good for the Denver Broncos. Okay? If we can agree on that, then we can move forward. Otherwise, I've had about enough of this stuff in the chat, and I'm going to start booting people tonight.
Uh-oh. Well, I have two truths here that can both be true at the same time. Teddy Bridgewater is not the long-term answer, and he's not anything besides an above average, or besides a average quarterback. That's probably as good as you're going to get from him. He's probably the best. He's playing some of the best quarterback play the Broncos have had since 2014 Peyton Manning. And that's more of an indictment on the Broncos quarterback play the last, 5 years, but is what it is. And if the Broncos lose games, we're going to see Drew at some point this season anyway. So I think let's just live in the moment, enjoy the right now. Happy to see some of these playmakers making plays. Hopefully we see some growth from these young guys, and be enjoying that this Broncos team, honestly playing meaningful football for the first time in November since 2018. So I'm enjoying that. Everybody enjoy it. Have a good one. We love y'all. Stay safe. Go Broncos.